Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Awesome. Okay, well, we'll get started. This session is Digital Service Transformation with MuleSoft and APIs, and I'm really excited because we'll be seeing this come to life through the lens of one of our customers, LendingTree. And LendingTree used MuleSoft to pull in third-party data into Salesforce's Service Cloud so that they were able to build an end-to-end connected service experience that really created and gave their agents this on-demand single view of their customers. My name is Esther Chen. I'm a product marketing manager at MuleSoft, and here today I'm joined by Badi Azad, Director of Product Management at MuleSoft, as well as Ryan Hollander, Product Manager at MuleSoft. Quick reminder to really base your purchasing decisions on the products and services that are currently available. But to kick things off, I know it's really late in the afternoon. Hopefully you all had some time to get coffee. But who here thinks Bay Area rent is ridiculously high? Can I see a raise of hands? Yes. And so I have been looking into what I would need to do to save to someday afford something. Sneak peek, it would be a long time before that happened. But as I started looking into what I would need to save, as well as home loans, I found out that I had a lot of questions. And to get my questions answered, my experience looked a little bit like this.
All of our representatives are currently busy. Please stay on the line, and your call will be answered by the next available representative. The estimated hold time is currently less than 96 minutes. You are currently caller number 32, waiting to speak with a representative. Thank you for your patience.
Am I the only one that's been put on hold before? It seems that every time you're trying to get a question answered, you're placed on hold, and then when you finally do reach an agent, you have to provide all this additional information. And when you think about it from the lens of the service agent, it's really stressful as well. They're tabbing between a bunch of systems, scrambling to try to answer the customer's question, and their queue of customers just keep on growing longer and longer. Let's now look at a different experience. Let's say, thinking about home loans again, instead of needing to call to get your questions answered, you're scrolling on your mobile phone on an online platform such as LendingTree. And within your mobile app, you're actually able to talk directly to a service agent and chat them the questions that you might have. And from the service agent's perspective, the moment that they open up a case, everything they see about the customer is in this one screen. And this is Service Console. And it's really interesting because you have access now to channel interactions, your customer information, as well as home loans. So taking a look at that left-hand side of the screen, home loans are actually housed in a third-party database. But how is it that agents can now see it within the Service Console? And that's where MuleSoft comes in. MuleSoft makes it really easy to unlock information and pull it into experiences such as this Service Console. And this proves very good for your business and a big differentiator because when you think about LendingTree, instead of needing to put their customers on hold, now their agents can answer all the questions very fast. And on top of that, thinking about home loans, for example. When a customer calls in, they might ask for help for something else. And now your agents are empowered to upsell them on other home loans or answer further questions, really creating this connected service experience. And so when you're thinking again about this connected, personalized service experience, it becomes really clear the need of a unified workspace as well as integration. And when we've talked to our customers, there were 3 themes that really came to light to create this personalized experience for their customers. The first is an on-demand single view of your customers. The second, your agents really need to be empowered to view customer engagement across all different types of channels. And then the last is that instead of needing to spend time on those manual processes, we want it to be automated so they can further personalize and spend more of that time being proactive. But the question that I had, and you guys might have, is why is it so difficult to achieve? Why is it more often than not, when you think about customer service, you have an experience like the one that I had, being placed on hold, not being able to reach a rep? And the reason is because typically, most of your information is probably housed in third-party data systems. And on top of that, for it to be moved into a unified workspace, it's typically done using custom code, which requires a lot of time, as well as a lot of different teams working on it. And so when you look at LendingTree and how they were able to empower their agents with this single view of their customer, it actually required a lot of information from different systems, such as customer information from a CRM, financial information from a financial suite, product history from an ERP, home loans from a third-party database, knowledge from another third-party database, chat and messenger needed to be supported, and then lastly, their predictive AI was in another third-party database. And it soon becomes really clear to create this connected service experience, you really needed integration as well as a unified workspace to surface everything. And that's where Service Cloud and MuleSoft comes in. But what's Service Cloud? Service Cloud is Salesforce's premiered service product. As you can see here right behind me, everything that your agents need to know is in one screen. That means that they can better prioritize cases, tasks, as well as chat directly with their customers. And this has been such a great advantage in helping their customers succeed, as we've been able to see customer satisfaction increase by over 32%. And MuleSoft further enriches that personalized service experience because MuleSoft makes it easy to connect any application, data, or device, whether it's in Salesforce or not, on-premise, in the cloud, or hybrid. And on top of that, MuleSoft is an integration lifecycle set of tools, starting from the design, creation, management, all the way to moving it to the cloud or securing it. But what's also really interesting about MuleSoft is that it isn't just an integration tool. And at the heart are APIs. APIs are really used as the building blocks of projects to really unlock the different information so that it's reusable by different teams as well as discoverable. And that's how we've been able to help our customers increase the speed of their integration by over 66%. But on APIs, what does it mean being API-led? Well, it starts with the first step. Step one, it's all about really unlocking the different systems using APIs. But where this strategy really comes to life is in step two. Instead of needing to really know the underlying systems, all you would need to do is create APIs on top of that without needing to know, again, the underlying systems. And this level of abstraction over time, as you can see here, you have a bunch of reusable assets or APIs to your disposal. So when you take a look at this project where you wanted to surface all this information into the Service Cloud, it becomes really easy and fast. But it gets even better. Let's say 1 to 2 months down the line, your boss says, hey, we have a new project. We want all of this information into a mobile app. Instead of needing to use custom code, all you need to do is actually create an additional experience API like you see here, and all of that information is now live within a mobile app. Another really important thing to know, though, is that not all APIs are created the same, and there's actually a systematic approach to it. The first layer is all about unlocking information from the underlying systems. The second layer, adding that business process logic on top of it. And then the last layer, that end experience, whether it's Service Cloud or a mobile app. So together, Service Cloud with MuleSoft really does allow organizations to create a more connected and personalized service experience. We have out-of-the-box connectors to a lot of common systems that you might have, such as SAP, Oracle, Manhattan. And on top of that, we also have pre-built Salesforce integration examples. And all of that is aimed to ease integration so that your teams can focus more on the innovation piece. And that's how together we've been able to help increase agent productivity for our customers by over 40%. So going back to our customer, going back to LendingTree, how is it that their agent was able to have everything they needed to know about their customer within this one screen? And how is it that something like home loans, housed within a third-party database, was able to be surfaced as well? Now, Ryan and Badi will join me, and they'll be showing us how LendingTree was able to use MuleSoft and Service Cloud to create this single pane of glass for their customers.
Thanks, Esther. So in this demo, we're going to show how LendingTree, which provides loan offers to their customers, is able to surface the loan offer information personalized to their customer right in Service Console. To do this, there's a four-step process. So the first is we have to create a new loan offer object inside of Service Cloud. And the way to do this is to use the Salesforce Object Manager, a very easy-to-use tool. We're not going to cover this today. You can learn more about that in tomorrow's session on Salesforce Lightning development. But we're going to cover everything else. So after the object is created, then you need to develop a UI component inside of Service Cloud in order to display this object. Then the next step is to develop an API that unlocks the loan information from a database that LendingTree has. And the final step is to use that API as part of an integration in order to supply that data into Service Cloud. So there are two personas who are involved in this process. The first persona is the integration engineer who is responsible for creating the loan offer object and UI component, and then defining what the API is. And this API states a set of values that have to be provided to it, and then states what information it's going to supply as well. It's an API definition. And then the service operations user is then going to build a flow to use that API in order to put the data into Service Console. I'll bring up Badi to show us how the IT integration specialist can define the API.
Great. Thanks, Ryan. All right, so we're going to do a demo here, and we will show you, or we will try to show you, the entire flow of creating that API. Remember, the APIs are structures, specifications that define a contract, right? So we're going to create a contract between the LendingTree backend system, which we can then connect over to the Lightning UI. Does that make sense? Everyone's kind of familiar with it? Okay. Now, let me show you the task that we're going to do here. Okay, so we'll build that contract out. We'll use clicks, not code. We'll design what our inputs and outputs should be to get an array of home loans available to us. And then we're going to go ahead and publish it and talk about reuse. Then I'll pass it over to Ryan, and he'll do some more magic for us. Now, I just wanted to show you what that custom object looked like. So let me swipe over here. So the custom object includes things like APR. It includes the lending name, maybe the loan offer, and the payments, right? Some other information here. That's all the loan offer object was. Now here, in the LendingTree section, this is what we showed without that information. So we just want to basically go back here and put in that loan information here. So why don't we start? Let's go ahead and go into our gear. We'll go into Edit Page. Okay. You're probably all familiar with the Lightning component. Let's go ahead and create a Lightning component that goes into that missing section there. So we're going to put it here. So let's go down and drag in and look for our tabs. We'll drag a new tab. We'll come over here and we'll change related to custom. We'll name this loan details. And we'll change that. Now let's go back and add in a related single list here. And here, we'll change the parent record to contact name. That's important because we're retrieving the loan information for that contact. We'll switch the related list back to our loan object. Okay. Change our default to a tile view. And then save this. And let's go back. All right, let's wait for this to load. Okay. All right, so here you see that loans detail section and that default placeholder UI element, right? So what we're gonna do from this point on is we're gonna go ahead and create a API contract which will interact with that database, and then Ryan will do the magic of filling this Lightning component with that information that comes from the lending tree bit. All right, so why don't we switch over and log into the Anypoint platform, and I'll show you around. So let me switch over here. Okay, so here's the Anypoint platform. Click login. Right. So this is the Anypoint platform landing page. You can see some of the components that are available to us here. We'll start to talk about some of the pieces in a second here. But let's start with the top section here. This is the Design Center. So Design Center has a couple capabilities in it, right? It has the ability to create API specifications. It also has the ability to create integrations. On the right, you see Management Center. Management Center is your one-stop shop to manage those APIs, to secure them, and even monitor them when they're running in production. And at the bottom is the Anypoint Exchange. Think about this as your integration app store, and it has a list of reusable connectors for you. There's examples and templates. There's also APIs out of the box provided by MuleSoft for your organization to use. So first, let's go into Design Center and start to create that API specification. Okay. Let's click on this. Okay. Let's go. All right. This is loading. Now we can go ahead and click on Create. And here you see the two options. The left one is Flow Designer, which is where you create Mule applications. And right here is their API Designer. Let's click on that. And let's name our API. Here we're going to select the visual editor. And let's hit Create. Now this loads the API Designer. This is our place where we actually create API specifications. Let me let that load, and I'll describe for you what it looks like. All right. So on the left-hand side, what you should see is that you should see a declarative UI where you can design your API structure, right? You have the ability to give the API its endpoints and its data types. We'll get into those in a second. But on the right-hand side, you'll see the underlying code for that API being generated as we build, right? So it allows you to have both views of it as well. So let's go in and actually name our API. Okay. Let's give our API a title. All right. And why don't we go ahead and give ourselves a description. All right. Cool. Offers. All right. Now let's go over to the create. And you have resources and data types here. Now, these are the two areas where you get to interact and create the different elements of the API as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. So let's go in and create a resource for ourselves. We'll call this the loan detail. All right. Now, we have the ability to get a loan, so why don't we click on the get and define a new response type. We'll stick with the 200 OK, which basically gives us back the loan information. We'll add a body. And this is an array of home loans. So let me select array there. Now we'll open that up for more detail. And this is going to be an array of objects. So let's click on the object here. And here we can add properties. So let's add in our properties. Let's put in lender name. Okay, this will be a string. Let's add our customer ID. Oops, sorry. Okay. Let's add in, that's a string. Let's add in our rating. Ratings can be a number. Let's add in our properties, one more. So add in APR here. Okay, this one can also be a number. Let me expand this here and change the format to be a float so we can have a 3-digit rate. Okay. And lastly, let's add in monthly payment. Okay. Payment. Sorry. Let's make these not be required here. Okay. Excellent. Okay. So now that we have all of those properties described, one of the things that we can do is we can extract those and make those reusable data types elsewhere in our API. Those reusable data types can then be used in different endpoints as well. So this allows you to extract that type, label it, and save it for future use. So we just need to give it a name here. Okay. Type in customer loan offer. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Now you see that that was created on the left-hand side there. Okay. Let's keep going here. Let's scroll up here. Okay. So now you see this customer loan object, and what we can do here is include an example data. So let's click Edit, select this section, and give an example, which I just pasted in, of some loan information. That includes the monthly payment, the customer ID, the rating, etc. All the while, underneath, you see the RAML and OAS specifications that are being built out for us. So you get to understand how the code works, as well as just doing it in a declarative fashion as well. So let's take a look at that. Okay, you see our example data is there. Let's check out our OAS side. Scroll this. All right. And okay. So one of the other features of the Anypoint platform is actually a really interesting and important tool to help us test. It's called the mocking service. And the mocking service allows us to use mocked data to test out our API. Right? And so the mocking service, when enabled, allows us to make those calls that we've just defined. So in this case, let's go ahead and turn on the mocking service. You see a URL is added there. Let's go ahead and click on loans offer, and you see that try it button there. And here we can actually hit the send and get an array, there it is, of loan objects. Now check this out. Here is an array of the loan information that we just added. This is the exact same mock of the data that would come back to us. Okay? Now, let me pause for a second. What we are able to do with this mocking service is incredibly important. At this point in time, we can publish this, which I'll show you next, and we can have someone else, maybe Central IT, go off and implement that API that actually powers it. But with the mocking service, we now have the ability to continue on with our integration creation, which is what Ryan's going to be able to do next. So let's publish this so that others can reuse this API specification. Let me show you what else we can do here. All right. So when we publish it, it automatically increments the asset version. We hit publish. And this posts it back into the Anypoint Exchange. Let's go ahead and take a look. OK, so before I hit this, what you can do inside of the Anypoint Exchange is you'll see an asset detail page next. Right? You'll see some information about the API. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, let's hit edit here. And let me paste in some information about this loan object. All right, save it as draft and publish it. Great. Now this loan information has data about how to use it. We see our get method here. We click that. We see our body of our response. We click on the endpoints and the summary. We have example information on how to use it. Here you can even click on the top right-hand side to share it with other members of the organization. But basically, we are done here. We have defined a get method, which responds back with an array of customer loan information, which we can then use to build out our integration. So at this point, I'm going to pause and pass it back over to Ryan, and he's going to build out the rest of the flow. If you have questions about this, we can talk about this part of it after we're done here. Ryan?
Thanks, Patty. Now I'm going to show you how a non-technical service operations user who's responsible for supporting the service team can use this API in order to build an integration easily that supplies the loan offer information into Service Console. So now we're on the Anypoint Platform landing page. And to begin, I'm going to click Start Designing in order to open Flow Designer. And then I'll create a new project. Now on the left side here, we see a modal, and I can create a new application in Flow Designer, or I can build an integration, import an existing one. And on the right side, we see that I can create an API specification or fragment as Batty did before. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. And I'm going to give it a name. And then I'll click Create. Great. So now I can choose a trigger, which is the step that starts this flow. I want to put this on a scheduled basis so that on a regular interval, all of the most recent loan offer information from our database is inserted into Service Cloud. So I'm going to choose the scheduler. And now I'm selecting a target. In this case, I'm going to select the Salesforce connector and the create single operation because I want to create new instances of the loan offer object over in Salesforce. Great, and now it's time for me to configure these steps. The first step to configure is our scheduler, and I want this to run once a day. So I'm going to set the time unit to days and the frequency to 1. So now I see 3 steps on the Flow Designer canvas. Over on the far left, we have the scheduler. On the far right is the Salesforce connector that creates a new loan offer instance. And then in the middle is a transform step to help us transform the data between these 2 connectors. So let's set up the Salesforce card. On the top, I see a red bar indicating that there's something else I have to configure. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And here I need to enter my Salesforce credentials. So I'm going to go ahead and type my username and my password. And then I'll paste in my security token from Salesforce. And now I can test my connection. Great. So now Flow Designer is connected with Salesforce. I like this, so I'm going to save this configuration. This connector creates a new instance of a Salesforce object. We need to specify what type of object to create. So I'm going to go here and select the loan offer custom object that we saw before. Great. So now I want to retrieve the loan offer information. Before Anypoint Platform, this was a really, really difficult step. And I have to ask IT for help. So I'd have to ask IT where this information sits. And IT may not know specifically which information is in which database and if it's in the format I need. Certainly, they wouldn't know which tables it may be in. IT would have to give me credentials. I'd probably have to ask IT's help in writing a SQL query in order to help me retrieve the information that I want. And all this takes a lot of time. So by the time all this is done, my project will probably be delayed and several dependent teams will as well. Well, with Anypoint Platform, there's a much easier way. I'm going to go to Exchange. And here we see the Customer Loan Offers API that Batty just created. And what's great is that even though he created this just moments ago, whether he created it a long time ago and I can reuse the API multiple times, IT doesn't even have to, I don't even have to rely on IT when I want to reuse this API in the future. So I can click it and read all about what this API provides. I like this, so I'm going to swipe back into Flow Designer. And to use this API, I can go to the point after the scheduler and click on the plus button, and then find the API from Exchange. And if I want to play with the setting, I can, but I don't need to. So I'm going to just close out of this card. And now we can see below the new card, the customer loan offers card, we can see the data type that's returned. And it's an array of objects. So we're getting an array of loan offers back. For each item in this array, I want to create a new instance of the loan offer object in Salesforce. And so therefore, I'm going to use the for each component. And here we see advanced customization options, but they're just optional. So I'm going to close out of this card. Now, notice right after the for each component, there's a red dot. And this indicates that I need to drag something into that scope. So I'm going to drag the rest of the cards in the flow into the for each scope. There we go. All right, so what I just did, there was a little issue, I think, with the visual. There was a delay here. But let me just explain what just occurred here. So what happened was we now opened the transform card right after right before we post the information in Salesforce. Because really what we want to do here is for each loan offer that's returned from the API, we need to make sure that this information is in the format that we want in Salesforce. Now, what I need to do is make sure the data on the left is mapped to the data on the right, where the data on the left is the information returned from the API, and the data on the right is in the format we need to provide to Salesforce. Now, what we see here is with MuleSoft's auto mapping engine, now the mappings are recommended automatically for me. I don't have to drag and drop. And this saves a lot of time because when you're mapping data, it can be easy to, it can take a lot of time when you're working with data with sometimes hundreds of attributes. Also notice here that on the right is a preview that shows the data in the format I need to give to the Salesforce connector. And this is really important because before this preview, I might configure something in the wrong format and see the data in the wrong format in Salesforce. Now that I have this preview, I can configure the data correctly the first time without all the guesswork. So I'm going to close out of this card. And we're almost ready to run this flow. Before I do, let's swipe back into the Service Console to kind of remind ourselves of what we're trying to accomplish here. So here we see the screen that the service representative sees. We see on the right a set of knowledge base articles. We see in the middle chat history. Over on the upper left, information about the customer that is just called the service representative. And then over on the bottom left, we see that loan offers object. But in this case, there's that 0. It's empty. There's no data. So I'm going to swipe once more. And here we have data about the loan offers that's in the same format that Badi showed us earlier. And this is a sample of what I want to put into that Lightning component. So I'm going to swipe back into Flow Designer now, and I'm going to click the Run button up at the top. Oh. Looks like we're having a little visual issue here. But you know, we're having a visual issue, but I think you saw before that what we're able to do here is to put the information into the Salesforce component. And with this done now, what it means is that the service representative is able to see all the loan offers right as the customer is talking and offer this customer value. So I'm going to bring Badi up to close this out here.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah. I know it's hard to do. Sometimes demos don't go according to plan. But great job. I mean, I think the idea here was that once you define that API specification, you have that API specification that you then publish into Exchange. You have that as a reusable asset. And with that mocking service, you actually can start your integrations before you do the implementation, all at the same time. In fact, we were able to do this without even coding, right? So the YAML that was generated for us on the right-hand side was just done as you use the UI declaratively. The other thing is that with all of those assets in Exchange, we can actually reuse them, right? In fact, there's even templates that help us accelerate the integration building that are available to you as well. Now, we also were able to take advantage of, we weren't able to see it today, but there's actually a AutoMapper engine that's there that uses machine learning to recommend out of the box automatically those mappings from systems to systems. And as Ryan interacts with that mapping component, it actually then stores those values and makes a better prediction the next time around. All right, so why don't we get the clicker? Let me also invite you to check out all of the assets that you saw us use today at the MuleSoft Exchange. So you just need to go to mulesoft.com/exchange, and there you'll find out-of-the-box templates, connectors, APIs. All those assets are available for you to take a look at and test out. And if you liked some of the things that you heard about today, I really encourage you to try out the free trial at developer.mulesoft.com. You can join one of our user communities with a ton of meetups, probably regionally somewhere near you. There's some online training courses that you can go to be certified to use MuleSoft's technology. It's fantastic. I've taken a few of them. We also are really excited to announce our new Trailhead. It launched today, guys. So that's fantastic. It's an order-to-cash scenario. You actually go out and build out the entire flow. And then we have this new cheat sheet. You can find the URL up above. It's a 2-pager, and it includes all the value that MuleSoft provides within all of those areas. So I appreciate you guys working with us and sitting through this demo. If you have specific questions, we have a little bit of time. There's a microphone here, and we can take a few questions now. All right, feel free to come up and ping us as well, but thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.